Imagine spending an entire month playing matches, surviving group stages, grinding out points, and then losing one game and going home. Done. Finished. See you next tournament. That's the knockout stage. And honestly, it's the most brutal, beautiful format in all of sports. Today, I'm breaking down exactly how it works, why it's designed this way, and the one thing about it that almost nobody talks about. This is going to be fast. Let's go. So first things first, what even is a knockout stage? Think of a tournament like a funnel. At the top, you dump in a bunch of teams. At the bottom, one team comes out as champion. The knockout stage is that funnel. It's the part of the competition where one loss ends your entire run. No second chances, no redemption arc. You lose, you leave. Simple concept, wildly stressful in practice. It's also called single elimination. And once you understand it, you'll never watch a tournament the same way again. Here's where it gets interesting. How do teams even get to the knockout stage? Most tournaments don't start here. They start with a group stage where teams play multiple matches and rack up points. Win, draw, lose. You get points accordingly. At the end of the group stage, the top teams advance. Usually the top two from each group, sometimes three. Depends on the tournament. The teams at the bottom, they go home early and pretend it never happened. The knockout stage is basically the VIP room. You have to earn your way in. Now let's talk about the actual bracket. This is the core of everything. Once the qualifying teams are set, they get drawn into a bracket. Think of it like a tournament tree. You've seen it before. March Madness, Wimbledon, the World Cup. Teams are matched up in pairs. The winner of each match moves to the next round. The loser goes home. This keeps going, round after round, until there are only two teams left. Those two play the final. One wins the whole thing. The other gets a really nice runner-up trophy and a lot of heartbreak. The bracket is ruthless, and that's exactly what makes it so addictive to watch. Okay, but how does the seeding work? Because teams aren't just randomly thrown together. At least, not completely. Seeding is basically a ranking system. The best performing teams from the group stage get labeled as high seeds. The lower performing teams get low seeds. Then they're matched up so that, in theory, the best teams don't face each other until the later rounds. In theory. In practice, upsets happen. Low seeds knock out giants. Favorites crash out in the round of 16, and the whole world loses its mind. That's the magic of seeding. It's designed for fairness. But sports doesn't care about fairness. Let's talk about the rounds themselves, because this is where the terminology gets a little confusing. The knockout stage has specific named rounds depending on how many teams are left. If you've got 16 teams left, you're in the round of 16. 8 teams, that's the quarterfinals. 4 teams, semifinals. 2 teams, that's your final. Clean, right? But some tournaments also have a third place match, a consolation game between the two teams that lost in the semis. Some people love it. Some people think it's the most awkward game in sports. You play for bronze while still crying about not making the final. Rough. And just like that, you've got the full picture of how a knockout bracket runs from start to finish. Here's something most casual fans miss: the home and away format in some knockout stages. Not every tournament does single-leg matches. In competitions like the UEFA Champions League, at least historically, knockout round ties are played over 2 legs. One match at each team's home stadium. You add up the goals from both games. Whoever scores more total goes through. Sounds fair, but here's the twist. If the aggregate score is tied after both legs, away goals used to be the tiebreaker. A goal scored at the opponent's stadium counted more. That rule was actually scrapped in 2021, so now it just goes to extra time and potentially penalties. But for decades, away goals were everything. Teams would go to an away stadium, grab one goal, and play defense for their lives. It's the kind of rule that sounds insane until you realize how much drama it created. Speaking of drama, extra time and penalties, the ultimate chaos. If a knockout match is tied at the end of 90 minutes, you don't just call it a draw and flip a coin. You play extra time. 2 15-minute halves. If someone scores in those 30 minutes, great, game over. But if it's still tied after all of that, penalty shootout. 5 players from each team. They take turns shooting one-on-one against the goalkeeper from the penalty spot. Sudden death if it's still level. And I promise you, nothing in sports is more nerve-wracking to watch. Grown adults covering their eyes, entire nations holding their breath, and sometimes the best team in the tournament gets knocked out because one guy missed a spot kick. It's not always fair. That's exactly why we can't look away. So let's bring it full circle. We started by asking, how does the knockout stage actually work? And now you know. Teams earn their way in through group play. They get seeded and placed into a bracket. Then it's one match, sometimes 2 legs, and you either advance or you go home. Each round cuts the field in half until there's nobody left but the champion. Here's the one-sentence version. The knockout stage is the cleanest, cruelest idea in the sports. You win or you're done. No excuses, no do-overs. Now here's a question worth thinking about. Is single elimination actually the best way to find a champion? Or does it just reward who peaks at the right moment, rather than who's actually the best team? Because sometimes the greatest squad in the tournament goes home in the quarterfinals off one bad night, and the best team might not always lift the trophy. Think about that next time you watch a knockout match. And if you want more breakdowns like this, simple, fast, no fluff, subscribe. We do this every day. You'll fit right in.